I'm Colleen, and I'm back for another live stream brought to you, of course, by the awesome people over at Princess Dental Staffing. So happy that everyone could be here with me on this Wednesday. Each week, on every Wednesday, we're bringing you a new topic that talks about how to start and or maintain your career in the dental industry. And if you like the content that we're bringing you, be sure to drop us a like. And of course, if you have any thoughts, insights, or questions about the information that we're bringing you weekly, be sure to drop us a comment. And we'll get, if we couldn't answer the question or address it when this was live, we'll definitely get back to it as soon as possible. Okay, now if you want more information on the topics that we're bringing you each week, be sure to check out Princess Dental Staffing's website at princessdentalstaffing.com, where you can check out their blog. And it's also super, super easy to create a profile and start searching for jobs. Okay, so happy Wednesday, everyone. Glad you could be here with me today. Today, we're talking about employee retention, okay? We're talking about 5 strategies. I'm going to be sharing with you 5 strategies on how to retain your employees, your dental team, okay? So we're going to be talking about that. But before we jump into that, of course, let's first talk about what employee retention is and why it's important. So essentially, your employee retention rates refer to, your turnover, your employee turnover, okay? So if you have a high employee retention rate, it means you have low turnover. And if you have low employee retention rate, then it's high turnover, okay? That means you have a high turnover. Turnover, of course, meaning how often you have to backfill your positions, okay, because somebody else left, okay? So that's basically what employee retention is and how it relates to turnover. Okay, so that's what it is. So why is it important? Why do we care about retaining our employees? Well, a lot of different reasons. Firstly, it takes a lot of time, effort, and energy to hire your team and to train your team. So you want to hold on to your employees definitely as long as possible, just because of all the time, effort, and energy that you've invested in that team member, okay? So, every time you have to backfill a position again, again, you have to invest a lot of that time, effort, and energy to redo that. And then you lose a little bit of time retraining or training a brand new person, right? So, for definitely item number 1 is, you want to keep your employees as long as possible because of all that time, effort, and energy and money that you've invested in hiring them. Additionally, it's really, it's an important thing to retain your employees because, with a high employee turnover and a low retention rate, basically every single time someone leaves, you're losing some knowledge. They take some knowledge with them, right? Historical knowledge about how the office is run and how to do these different processes and procedures that help your office run smoothly, okay? Additionally, it's also really great to have employee retention, high employee retention, because it gives your patients, a sense of comfort to see the same people every time they come in and be familiar with your different team members every time they come in to see you for their annual cleaning or for processes and procedures, okay? So definitely, a lot of good reasons why you want a high employee turnover, or excuse me, a high employee retention rate and a low turnover. That's what I meant to say. So how can we achieve this? How can we get, or at least help support having a high employee retention rate and kind of helping lower that potential stress that can come along with with a high turnover? Well, let's talk about these strategies. So strategy number 1 is creating a positive work environment, right? I mean, it's a lot easier to retain your employees when they want to come to work. And one of the ways that you can help them want to come to work and to be motivated to come to work and do their work is to create a positive work environment, okay? So really important to have that. So how can we do that? Well, firstly, make sure you have proper systems and procedures in place, such as like, fairly consistent scheduling, for example, and, good, process and task distribution. and those sorts of things. Just having those, processes and procedures in place really helps maintain your consistency and makes it a lot easier to do your work as an employee at the office. Okay. Make sure that you have the most up-to-date technology and tools as much as possible, okay? And that way, when you have all these tools and technology that are up to date, it really helps with your workplace efficiency. You're helping your team, you're setting up your team for success, right? Because they have all the tools and technology that they need in order to do the job efficiently and effectively, okay? And then make sure that you are looking at your total compensation package, okay? Total compensation refers to not just salary and not just benefits, but the other benefits that your employees get from working with you, okay? So yes, of course, make sure you have a competitive salary and make sure that you have competitive benefits, but you also want to add some other benefits to kind of sweeten the pot, okay? So for example, offering continuing education, okay? Or, other, perks. I know a lot of employers now are kind of going towards these, they have these like coupon packages or like discount packages for working at a certain place. That's definitely part of total compensation. That's definitely a perk for an employee to work with you. So, when you're looking at compensation, look at the total compensation, make sure that you're competitive, especially for the area. And, that will really help create that positive work environment, which helps boost that employee retention rate. Okay. So that's item number one. I know that was a lot, but one, create a positive work environment. And those are just some ways that you can do that. Okay, strategy number two is to show appreciation for your dental staff. Okay, employees, team members are way more motivated to come to work and to do their work well if they know that they're appreciated for the efforts that they put in. Okay, we as worker bees, we definitely spend a lot of time at work, away from families, and at the office, getting those salaries. So we want, we definitely, as employers, we definitely want to create an environment where that employee feels appreciated for their efforts. Okay. So, make sure that you are appreciative of your employees and that you're showing that appreciation. One good thing to do would be to, work with each individual team member and see how they try to find out how they like to be appreciated, because not everyone responds the same way to different types of appreciation. For example, some people, some employees will respond to, some time off as an appreciative gesture, or some employees, just like a small gift card to, coffee shop, Starbucks, or whatever, just like $10, it really goes a long way for other employees. Okay. So make sure you try to find out, what your employees are responsive to in terms of gratitude, and make sure that you make clear when you offer the gesture of gratitude, make sure that you make clear the specific, be specific in what you're being grateful for. Let them know specifically what you were grateful for. Hey, you did a great job with this patient, or, thanks for clearing up these files, or something like that. Okay, so make sure that you're clear. Okay. What are some good examples of continuous education that you can offer to your employees? That's a great question, Taylor. So there's a lot of different things. So, we can definitely talk about, when we're talking about like kind of the technical or hard skills, for example, using specific tools or technology, computer systems, and those sorts of things, you can definitely provide them with that sort of training, just like, YouTube videos or hands-on training. Actually have someone come out and train your people to do that. When it comes to like soft skills and things like that, there are tons and tons of training programs out there for like emotional intelligence and, building teams and those sorts of things out there as well. There's also in the dental industry specifically, conferences and, different like conferences and like workshops that you can send your employees to. So there's lots of different items out there. And like I said, they can be technical in nature, kind of building those hard skills and, helping your employees build those technical skills, or it could be, more those soft skills where, it helps your employee work better with your team and fit in better with your team. Okay, so it can be either one, but there are definitely tons of great options out there. Okay, so great question, Taylor. Thank you. Okay, so we talked about showing appreciation for your dental staff. Number 3 is provide continuous training, just like we were talking about. We kind of touched on this a little bit earlier. That was a great question, Taylor. But like I was saying earlier, conferences, training outside, workshops and those sorts of things, you can absolutely send your employees to those types of trainings, or you can have like in-office trainings. You can actually pay someone to come out and train your people as a team, or it could be just YouTube videos, or Zoom videos, Zoom conferences, and those sorts of things that help engage your employees and help train them to keep up their skills and to build their skills as well. Okay, but especially when it comes to the dental industry, change is constantly happening. Okay, so it's really, really important to have these continuous education opportunities to help your employee grow within your team. Okay, and again, just really kind of helps build that morale, because it is, any training of any kind, whether it's team building or even more technical in nature, is definitely a team building exercise, right? If it's a group training. So, again, just really great ways to kind of build up that positive work environment and make sure that your employees are, continuously being professionally developed. Is team building events a great way too? Oh yeah, absolutely. Absolutely, Jennifer. Team building events, and those could be, there are so many different team building events out there. I love team building events, actually. I'm that nerd in the office that loves those team building events. But, and those could be, actual team building exercises, or it could just be taking some time away from the office to work together. I've learned recently, probably like within the last year or so, before COVID and everything, one of the really big team building exercises were those escape rooms. If you guys have ever been to those, if you've ever heard of those, I thought that was the best idea ever. Those are really, really fun team building activities that can actually get your team, it's fun, but your team actually learns how to work together, right? And kind of, it's a great way to kind of get them to learn how to communicate, right? Those are your favorite too? Yeah, I love escape rooms. Those are so fun. So yeah, team building events, absolutely, absolutely great thing to introduce to really kind of help solidify those bonds between all your team members. Yeah, absolutely. Okay, so provide continuous training. That's the one we just talked about. Number 4 is hold meaningful staff meetings. We've all seen those memes on social media, right, about how the staff meeting could have been an email. Right, we've seen those, right? Those tend to be the bane of the office existence, right? Just being in those staff meetings, and they're just, they just take up so much time and really just don't really add a lot of value. So make sure that if you're holding your staff meetings, that they are meaningful, that you actually add meaning to those meetings. So some of the ways to do that, okay? And staff meetings are important. Don't get me wrong. Staff meetings, absolutely important to have, and make sure that your team, you're setting some time aside to get your team together and all discuss everything so that everybody's on the same page, because sometimes those emails, they can get, kind of lengthy, and it just gets a little bit confusing. So staff meetings, definitely important things to have. Just make sure that they are meaningful and that there is some substance to them, okay? So here's how we can do that. Make sure you're creating an agenda, okay, or a list of topics that you want to cover in the staff meeting, okay, and try to stay, have some sort of structure. I mean, obviously, staff meetings, they can go any which way, but try to have some sort of structure and try to stick to it as much as possible. At least have some objectives in mind of the things that you want to accomplish in that meeting, to make sure that they get accomplished by the time the meeting is over, okay? Make sure you follow the agenda as much as possible, but also have a little bit of flexibility so that, your team members can offer input or, ask questions when they need to in order to gain some clarification, okay? Make sure that the priorities and the goals of the dental office are the same with the patient's team members and the office in mind as a whole. Okay, so make sure that everyone is on the same page about what the targets and the goals and the objectives are here. Okay, so it kind of helps. That definitely helps your team members kind of all stay on track and everybody to be on the same page when it comes to what the understanding what the end goal is here and how everybody comes together to work as a whole, what their positions are in the grander scheme of things. Okay. How do you hold staff meetings with those who work from home? Zoom? You can, yeah, absolutely. Zoom, Google, Loom. There's definitely GoToMeeting is another one. There's tons and tons of options out there to involve people who work from home. One common complaint that I have heard when you have those sort of blended meetings, where you have some people are here and some people are at home, is that the people who are at home, they kind of feel a little bit kind of left out, like they're kind of forgotten about. So definitely kind of keep that. If you're going to have those blended meetings where you have some people in person and some people attending virtually, make sure that you don't forget about the people who are attending virtually. Make sure you kind of keep them in mind. For example, if somebody asks a question in the staff meeting, make sure you repeat it for the people who are listening. Jennifer asked, what our goal is for the next week or something like that, and here's the answer. Okay, because sometimes they can't hear. Make sure you stop every so often and ask if there's, are there any questions from our virtual audience or something like that. Okay, make sure that you don't forget about them. They're just as much as part of the team, and it goes a long way to remind them that they are a big part of the team and that they can and their contributions are noted and valued. Okay, so that is a great question, Jennifer. Great question. Okay. So we just talked about holding meaningful staff meetings and, kind of the reason behind that and why that's important. So lastly, number 5, set clear expectations for each team member. Super, super important for each one of your team members to know what is expected of them, what their roles and tasks and responsibilities are. Okay. Really important for you as the manager to know that as well, to know who takes care of what. Okay, and whose responsibility it is, and communicating that to your clearly to your team members really helps reduce that kind of overlap or those gaps in processes and procedures. Okay, and not only that, but it just being organized and understanding who does what and having your team members understand who does what reduces the amount of confusion, because if you're part of a team where you're not quite sure who does what or what you're responsible for, it's not really clear, it can get very, very frustrating, because then your team members start to kind of, some of them will either not take care of things because they think someone else is they expect someone else to, or they'll start to take care of things that someone else is already taking care of because they didn't know that, team member Sally was already on it, right? And that can get kind of frustrating, and that can, just waste a lot of time as well. So, making sure that everyone knows their job, knows their tasks and responsibilities and their goals goes a long way to creating a really positive work environment and a positive team building. Okay. So I know that was a lot. Those are our 5 strategies. I know there's more a lot. So let's kind of go back over them briefly and just kind of recap. Okay. So strategy number 1, create a positive workplace environment. And of course, we talked about how you can do that. Firstly, making sure total compensation is competitive. Make sure that you have the most up-to-date tools and technology, and that you provide the training so that everyone knows how to use that. Okay. And, make sure that you have proper and as consistent as possible systems in place so that everyone knows, kind of has a general idea of what to expect. Okay. Number 2, show appreciation for your dental staff. Make sure your team, how your team members want or best receive your gratitude, just from verbal affirmations to gift cards to, to awards, to those sorts of things. There are tons of different ways. So make sure you know what works best for each one of your team members. Okay. And be very specific about what you're showing gratitude for. Okay. Number 3, provide continuous training. This can be, like I said, just videos. This can be Zoom meetings or, virtual meetings. having a trainer come out to train all of you all together, sending your people to conferences or workshops. Okay, there's tons of different ways to do that, but continuous training really helps your team members, your employees, build those skills that can be used, as the office, as the practice continues to progress, okay, and to grow. Number 4, hold meaningful staff meetings. Make sure you have an agenda and tasks goals and targets that that you want to discuss in that staff meeting, and make sure you try as much as possible to stick to the agenda as much as possible, while still having a little bit of flexibility for team members to provide input and to ask questions. Okay, and lastly, number 5, set clear expectations for team members. Make sure all of your team members know, what their tasks and responsibilities are, what their goals are, and clearly explain to them who does what and why. Okay. So those are strategies for building your employee retention and keeping a really great dental team in your practice. Okay. So really great questions today, everyone. Thanks for providing a lot of those questions. Really insightful. Really, really love them. So if you have any other questions, though, go ahead and comment them, and we will be sure to answer them as soon as possible in short order. And if you have any other thoughts or insights, of course, feel free to share those as well. Any other tips for, if you are, a manager or, an owner, make sure that you, definitely share some tips below that you find helps, build your employee retention as well. Okay. So thanks for being here with me today, everyone. So glad that you could be here with me. And I will be back next week on Wednesday with a new topic. Okay. So have a great week. Have a great weekend. I will see you soon. All right. Bye.